I'll fix your fence for free, but I have one requirement. Tonight, I'll sleep between the two of you. The sun was beginning to dip behind the hills, painting the sky with soft shades of orange and pink. Lily stood at the edge of her small yard, staring at the old wooden fence that had seen better days. It leaned slightly to one side, its paint chipped and faded, and a few boards had fallen off entirely. She could hear the faint creak of the remaining planks as the evening wind blew through them. Mark, her husband, was inside, fussing with some papers on the kitchen table. The couple had been busy lately, struggling to keep up with work and bills, and the fence had simply been neglected. But now, staring at the crooked boards, Lily felt a mixture of frustration and worry. The fence wasn't just a piece of wood. It was the barrier that kept the neighborhood dogs from wandering into their yard, and it had always given her a sense of privacy. "Mark," she called, her voice carrying over the soft breeze. "We really need to fix this fence. It's not safe, and it's getting worse every day." Mark poked his head out of the kitchen door, rubbing his tired eyes. "I know, Lily. I know. But we don't have the time or money to hire someone right now. Maybe next month?" Lily sighed and ran her fingers through her hair. "Look at it. If a strong wind comes tonight, half the fence might fall on the garden. We can't wait." Before Mark could answer, the sound of an engine interrupted them. A small, dusty truck pulled up onto the gravel driveway. From it stepped a man who looked about in his late 30s. He wore a plain shirt and jeans, and his hands were rough, calloused from years of hard work. He had a calm, confident presence that made Lily instinctively take a step back, unsure of who he was. "Hello," the man said, his voice deep but not unkind. "I fix things, fences, doors, gates, you name it. I was passing by and noticed your fence. It looks like it could use some help." Lily blinked. She had never seen this man before, and yet he spoke as if he had been watching the fence for weeks. "Thanks," she said cautiously, "but we can't really afford a handyman right now." Sam smiled, but it wasn't a boastful smile. It was quiet, almost gentle. "I don't want payment. I'll fix it for free. There's just one thing I need from you." Lily frowned. "One thing?" "Yes," he said. "Tonight I'll sleep between the two of you while I work on the fence." The words hung in the air like a heavy cloud. She exchanged a quick, bewildered glance with Mark. "Sleep between us?" Mark asked, his voice a mixture of confusion and irritation. "What do you mean?" Sam's expression didn't change. He looked at them calmly, as if he were explaining something perfectly normal. "It's just for tonight. I want to make sure no harm comes to you while I'm fixing the fence. Some nights are unpredictable. Storms, animals, accidents, I've seen it all. If I'm here between you, nothing will happen to either of you while I work." "You mean you want to sleep in our house?" "No," Sam said quickly. "I'll sleep outside, between the two of you in the yard. Just to be close while I work. I don't mean anything else by it. It's about safety. This is unusual, to say the least. We don't even know you." Sam nodded. "I understand. And I won't force anything. You can say no. But if you agree, I'll fix your fence tonight, and you won't have to worry about a thing." They could see the sincerity in Sam's eyes. There was something about him, calm, serious, confident, that suggested he wasn't there to take advantage of them. Still, the idea of letting a stranger sleep between them, even outside, made them uneasy. I don't know," Lily said finally. "This is strange. Really strange. But the fence does need fixing." Mark nodded slowly. "Let's see what happens. But I want to make sure he understands boundaries. No funny business, Sam." "I understand," Sam said with a small nod. "Nothing inappropriate will happen. This is about safety, nothing else." "Okay, then. But only if you promise to keep things professional." Sam grinned faintly. "I promise." And with that, he set to work. The evening air grew cooler as Sam unloaded his tools from the truck. Lily watched him move with a quiet efficiency that was oddly comforting. He worked quickly, measuring the fence, checking each board, and replacing the damaged pieces. Even in the fading light, his focus was clear, and Lily felt a strange sense of relief. Maybe he was right. Maybe having someone competent here would prevent an accident. Mark eventually joined them outside, offering to hold boards or pass tools. Even he was impressed by Sam's skill. Within a short time, the fence began to take shape again. Old, broken planks were replaced with sturdy new ones, and the lean that had worried Lily was corrected. As the sun disappeared completely, Sam wiped his brow and looked at them. "The fence is almost ready. Just a few more touches, and it will be solid." Lily felt a mix of gratitude and nervousness. "You really are fixing this for free?" "Yes," Sam said simply. "I just want to make sure you're safe tonight. That's all." The night settled around them, bringing with it the sounds of crickets and distant dogs barking. Lily and Mark set up a small area in the yard where Sam could sleep. It was simple. Just a blanket on the ground. But it was enough. The thought of a stranger so close made Lily's stomach tighten, but she reminded herself that Sam had been nothing but professional so far. Hours passed quietly. Occasionally the wind rattled the trees, making the fence creak, but Sam stayed alert. His presence was strangely reassuring. Lily noticed how he inspected the area, making sure everything was secure, checking gates and latches. Mark, too, seemed calmer, knowing that someone experienced was watching over their property. By midnight, the fence was fully repaired. It stood strong, solid, and straight. Sam had done exactly what he promised. He looked at the finished work with a satisfied nod, then glanced at Lily and Mark. "It's done. You don't have to worry anymore." "Thank you, Sam. Really. I was nervous at first, but you've earned our trust." "Yes, thank you. And sorry for doubting you." "It's okay, I understand. Most people are cautious. They have to be. I just want to help." The three of them sat quietly for a few moments, enjoying the cool night air and the peace that came with knowing the fence was finally safe. It was a simple moment, yet there was an unspoken bond forming. A stranger had entered their lives in an unexpected way, and his presence, though unusual, had brought a sense of security they hadn't realized they needed. Finally, Sam rolled up his blanket and prepared to rest outside. "I'll stay here for a few hours," he said, "just until the night passes. Then I'll leave, and you won't even notice I was here." Lily and Mark watched him settle down, feeling a strange mix of relief and curiosity. Who was this man, really? Why did he care so much about strangers' safety? They didn't have answers yet, but for tonight they didn't need them. They had defense, they had protection, and somehow they had a sense of trust that hadn't been there before. As they went back inside, the lights of the house casting a warm glow onto the yard, Lily looked out the window at Sam. He was already dozing lightly, but there was a sense of calm about him. She whispered to Mark, "Maybe some people are meant to cross our path at the right time, even if it's in the strangest way." Mark nodded silently, watching the repaired fence. "Yeah," he said quietly. "Maybe so." Outside, the night continued, calm and quiet, and for the first time in a long time, Lily and Mark felt safe, not just because of the fence, but because of the presence of someone who genuinely cared. Next morning, Lily woke to the soft sound of birds singing outside her window. Sunlight streamed through the thin curtains, filling the room with a warm glow. She stretched and rubbed her eyes, thinking about the night before. Sam, the handyman who had arrived so unexpectedly, had spent the night in the yard, just as he had said. She wondered if he had slept at all, given the unusual arrangement. Mark was already in the kitchen, sipping coffee and staring out the window at the fence. The morning light made it look even stronger than before, the new wood shining slightly under the sun. He turned to Lily with a small smile. "The fence looks perfect. I didn't think anyone could fix it so quickly." "I know," Lily said, a hint of amazement in her voice. "I can't believe how fast he worked." "And he stayed outside all night." "That's unusual, but somehow comforting." Mark nodded, still thoughtful. "Yeah. I don't think I would have done it the same way, but he seems genuine. Honest. I guess some people are just like that." They spoke quietly, not wanting to disturb Sam, who was still outside, packing up his tools. The sight of him working methodically, checking the fence and making sure every board was perfectly aligned, gave them a strange sense of peace. It was as if he belonged there, even though he was a stranger. Finally, Sam came to the gate and called out to them. "Breakfast would be nice, if you have a few minutes." "I don't mind helping clean up afterward." Lily exchanged a glance with Mark, then nodded. "Of course. Come in." He entered the kitchen with careful steps, wiping his hands on a small rag he had brought. The smell of coffee and toasted bread filled the air, and for a moment, everything felt normal again. Sam took a seat at the small table, and they all ate in a comfortable silence, broken only by the occasional comment about the fence or the weather. As they ate, Lily couldn't help but notice how quiet and thoughtful Sam was. He didn't talk much about himself, but when he did, it was always in small, careful pieces. "I've always liked fixing things," he said, breaking a silence. "Even when I was a kid, I would help my father in his workshop. There's something satisfying about making something whole again. Something that was broken." Businesses? Sounds like more than just a hobby. Was it a family business? No, my father passed away when I was young. After that, well, I found myself doing a lot of work on my own. Houses, fences, doors. I learned to fix things because it was necessary. And maybe because it gave me a sense of control in a world where a lot of things were out of my hands. Lily listened quietly, sensing a deep sadness behind his calm voice. There was a story there, something he wasn't fully saying, but she didn't press him. Some things needed time before they were shared. After breakfast, Sam returned to the yard to finish his work. He replaced the last loose board and examined the fence from different angles. Lily and Mark followed him outside, curious to see the final result. "Looks perfect," Lily said softly. "I can't believe how strong it is now." "It feels safe." Sam nodded, a small smile on his face. "It's important to feel safe where you live. That's what makes a house a home. Not just the walls, but the space around it." Mark ran his fingers along the new wood. "You're right. This actually feels like it could last for years." "Thank you, Sam." "It was nothing," Sam said, brushing off their gratitude. "I like helping people. That's enough for me." As the morning passed, Lily and Mark noticed how meticulous Sam was. He didn't rush, even though the work was nearly done. Every nail was checked, every plank measured carefully. His movements were quiet but deliberate, and they began to understand that his unusual request last night had come from a place of responsibility, not oddity. By midday, the fence was completely finished. Sam stepped back to admire it, his hands resting on his hips. "There," he said. "It's done."
You don't have to worry about it anymore.
Lily and Mark looked at the sturdy, straight fence, and for the first time in weeks, they felt a deep sense of relief. "It really is amazing," Mark said. "I don't think we could have done it ourselves, not this quickly and not this well." Sam shrugged. "Like I said, it's what I do. I just make sure it's done right." There was a brief silence. Then Lily spoke. "Sam, I want to ask something. Why did you insist on staying last night? You didn't have to. You could have worked today and left." "Why?" Sam looked down at his hands as if considering how much to say. "I've seen a lot of things in my life. People getting hurt, accidents that could have been prevented. I know it sounds strange, but sometimes it's easier to prevent problems if you're close by. Last night, I felt like if something happened, I could be there. That's all." Lily felt a shiver run down her spine, not from fear, but from the weight of his words. There was honesty in his voice, a kind of raw truth that was hard to ignore. "I see," she said softly. "I guess I never thought about it that way. At first I thought it was weird, but now I get it. You were just being careful. That's actually very thoughtful." Thank you. I know it wasn't normal. I know it probably made you uncomfortable, but I meant no harm. I just wanted to help." The rest of the day passed quietly. Sam helped them tidy up the yard, gathering the old boards and nails and stacking them neatly for disposal. He worked with a calm patience, never rushing, never complaining. Lily and Mark found themselves watching him, fascinated by the ease with which he moved and the quiet strength he seemed to carry. As the sun began to lower again in the sky, Lily felt a sense of curiosity growing inside her. Who was this man, really? Where did he come from? And why did he care so much about two strangers' safety? She wanted to ask him, but she didn't want to pry. Some things revealed themselves over time. By evening, Sam was preparing to leave. He packed up his tools, carefully placing each one in his truck. Lily and Mark walked with him to the driveway. "You don't have to leave immediately," Lily said. "You could stay for a little while, maybe have dinner with us. We owe you that." Sam shook his head politely. "I appreciate it, but I have other work to do. Houses, fences, they don't fix themselves." Mark extended his hand. "Well, thank you, Sam. You really helped us more than you realize. The fence is perfect, and, well, you made us feel safe, even if it was in a very unusual way." Sam smiled and shook his hand. "It was my pleasure. Take care of each other, all right?" He climbed into his truck and drove away, leaving Lily and Mark standing at the gate. The fence gleamed softly in the evening light, a symbol not only of protection but also of the unexpected trust and kindness that could enter their lives when they least expected it. As they walked back into the house, Lily whispered to Mark, "There's something about him, I can't explain it, but I feel like we just met someone who really understands what it means to care for others." Mark nodded, still thoughtful. "Yeah. Maybe some people come into our lives for a reason, even if it's in the strangest way possible. The day ended quietly, with a sense of peace that had been missing for weeks. The fence stood strong, and the house felt safer than it had in a long time. But more than that, Lily and Mark realized that trust and kindness could come from unexpected places, and that sometimes the people who crossed your path were there to teach you lessons about care, protection, and understanding. Outside, the stars began to twinkle, and the night was calm. Somewhere down the road, Sam drove away, unaware of the lasting impression he had left. And inside, Lily and Mark sat together, feeling a little wiser, a little more grateful, and a little more open to the unexpected ways life could bring help and safety into their world. The next few days passed quietly for Lily and Mark, yet the memory of Sam lingered in their minds. The fence was perfect, standing firm under the bright morning sun, but it was more than just a repaired barrier. It represented the unusual kindness of a man they barely knew, a stranger who had come into their lives and reminded them of the simple truths about trust and care. Lily found herself glancing at the fence every morning as she stepped onto the porch. She noticed the way the sunlight hit the smooth new boards, the way the nails held everything securely, and the faint scent of fresh wood that lingered in the air. It was almost symbolic. Something solid and dependable had entered their life when they least expected it. Mark, too, seemed affected in ways he didn't fully understand. He had always been practical, focused on work and routine, rarely letting emotion guide him. But something about Sam's presence had made him reflect on how fragile life could be and how rare it was to find someone who genuinely cared for others without expecting anything in return. One afternoon, Lily was tending the garden near the fence when she heard the familiar sound of a truck on the gravel driveway. She looked up and saw Sam stepping down from his vehicle, carrying a small toolbox. "Sam?" she called, a mixture of surprise and curiosity in her voice. He waved casually. "Hey, Lily, hope I'm not intruding. I was in the area and thought I'd check on the fence, make sure everything's still solid." Mark emerged from the house, slightly wary but polite. "Well, it's still standing. You did a good job. I like to make sure my work lasts." He approached the fence, tapping the boards lightly, checking for any signs of weakness. Lily watched him, noticing the care in his movements, the attention to detail. There was a quiet confidence about him that was difficult to explain. He wasn't boastful, but he carried a presence that suggested reliability. "You're very thorough," Lily said softly. "Most people would just leave after fixing it. It's more than just the fence. I guess I like to make sure things are safe. That includes people, too." "People, too?" Sam nodded slowly. "Yeah. Sometimes being safe means more than just fixing wood or nails. Sometimes it means being present, being aware. A lot of people overlook that." Lily glanced at Mark, sensing that he, too, was beginning to understand the depth of what Sam had done. It wasn't just a fence, it was the sense of security he had brought into their home, even if it had been in a very unusual way. They spent the afternoon together, Sam helping with small repairs in the yard, and Lily and Mark slowly letting him share small pieces of his life. He talked about growing up learning to work with his hands, how he had always felt most comfortable when he was building or fixing something. But he also hinted at a past filled with loss. Without going into details, he let them see that he had experienced moments that made him value protection and trust above all else. "I guess that's why you stayed last night," Lily said finally, as they all sat down on the porch to take a break. "It wasn't just about the fence. It was about keeping us safe." Sam nodded. "Exactly. I've seen accidents happen. People get hurt because someone wasn't paying attention, or because no one cared enough to watch out for them. I wanted to make sure that didn't happen here." Mark rubbed his chin, still processing. "You're a good man, Sam. Honestly. Most people wouldn't do something like that for strangers." Sam smiled faintly. "Maybe. I don't see it that way. I just do what I can. It feels right." The conversation turned to lighter topics as the sun began to lower in the sky. They spoke about the neighborhood, their favorite places to walk, and memories of simpler times. Sam listened carefully, occasionally adding his own stories, always respectful and calm. There was a quiet bond forming between them, built on trust, honesty, and mutual respect. As evening approached, the sky turning soft shades of pink and purple, Lily noticed a change in Mark. He seemed quieter, reflective, as if he were thinking about more than just the day's work. "You know," he said finally, "I think we've been taking things for granted. Life, it's unpredictable. And people like Sam, they remind you that not everyone is out for themselves. That's rare." Lily nodded, her eyes following Sam as he tightened a few loose screws on the gate. "Yes. It makes you realize that trust and kindness can come from unexpected places." Sam looked up, noticing their expressions. "I know it might seem strange how I do things," he said softly, "but I believe that sometimes the best way to help is just to be there. Whether it's fixing a fence or watching over someone, it doesn't have to be complicated." That night, as Lily and Mark prepared for bed, they couldn't stop thinking about Sam. The memory of him sleeping outside, calmly watching over them, seemed less strange now and more like a gesture of genuine care. They realized that his presence had given them something more than safety. It had given them peace of mind and a renewed sense of gratitude. The following day, Sam returned again, this time to help with small repairs inside the house. Lily and Mark were comfortable around him now, having seen his reliability and sincerity over the past few days. They laughed together as he fixed a leaky faucet and adjusted a creaky door. It was a simple pleasure seeing someone work so patiently and skillfully. During a quiet moment, Lily asked, "Sam, do you ever get tired of always helping others?" Sam thought for a moment, then shook his head. "Not really. I like helping. It keeps me grounded. I've had my share of hard times, and being able to make a difference, even in small ways, makes life feel meaningful." Mark added, "I guess that's something we all need sometimes. Someone to remind us that not everything is about us, that kindness still exists." Sam smiled, not looking boastful, just content. "Exactly. That's all I try to do." As the day ended, Sam packed up his tools once more. This time, he stayed to watch the sunset with Lily and Mark. The three of them stood quietly, the sky ablaze with color, and in that moment, the unusual arrangement of the past few days no longer felt strange. It felt natural, like a lesson in trust, patience, and human connection. Lily turned to Mark quietly. "I think we've learned something important here. It's not just about fences or tools. It's about care, presence, and trust. And sometimes those lessons come from the most unexpected people." Mark nodded, taking her hand. "Yes, and maybe it's about recognizing those people and appreciating them, even if they're different or unconventional." Sam, noticing their thoughtful expressions, simply said, "I'm glad I could help. That's all that matters to me." As night fell, the house felt warmer, safer, and more complete. The fence stood strong, the yard tidy, and a quiet sense of trust had formed between three people who had only recently met. For Lily and Mark, the experience was a reminder that life could bring unexpected kindness into their world. And for Sam, it was another day of doing what he believed was right, watching over, protecting, and quietly making a difference. They didn't know what the future held, but they knew one thing: some people enter your life not by chance, but for a reason. And when they do, it's worth paying attention to the lessons they bring, the example they set, and the warmth they leave behind. The night fell quietly over the small house, and a soft breeze rustled through the trees. Lily and Mark sat on the porch, finishing the dishes after a simple dinner. They had invited Sam to stay a little longer, just to share the meal and enjoy his company. Though the atmosphere was calm, there was an unspoken tension in the air. Both Lily and Mark were aware how unusual it was to have a stranger, someone who had been sleeping nearby, become a part of their daily life. Yet, over the past few days, they had come to trust him. Sam had been quiet during dinner, listening more than speaking, offering small observations about the repairs he had done and asking questions about their routines. There was something steady about him, something comforting that made the couple feel safer, even though they knew he could not protect them from everything. As they cleared the last of the plates, the wind picked up, rattling the fence Sam had repaired. The sound was a little louder than usual, and the shadows of the trees stretched across the yard. Mark glanced at Lily and noticed her eyes had widened slightly. "It's just the wind," he said, though even he felt a little unease. Sam, who had been tidying up his tools in the corner of the yard, looked up sharply. He walked over to the fence, checking each post and board carefully. "The wind is strong tonight," he said. "I'll stay out here, just in case. Better to be safe." "You don't have to. It's just a fence." "Nothing will happen," Sam shook his head. "It's not just the fence. Sometimes the smallest problem can cause a bigger one if no one is paying attention." "I don't mind staying." Mark looked at him, a mixture of concern and respect in his eyes. "All right, if you want to, stay. But just keep things normal." Sam smiled faintly. "Of course. I'm just here to watch and protect. Nothing else." As the night deepened, the wind grew stronger and the trees swayed as if dancing to an unseen rhythm. Lily and Mark went inside, leaving the porch light on, but they could still see Sam moving outside, his silhouette steady against the dark yard. He inspected the fence again, checking for any weaknesses, making sure the gate was securely latched. There was something almost ritualistic about the way he moved, careful and precise, and both Lily and Mark found themselves feeling calmer just watching him. Around midnight, a loud crack of thunder echoed through the valley, followed by a sudden gust of wind that shook the fence violently. Lily jumped slightly, and Mark hurried to the window. The couple saw one of the boards beginning to loosen from the force of the wind. "Sam!" Mark called, fear in his voice. In an instant, Sam was there, running across the yard. With quick, confident hands, he secured the board before it could fall. "It's all right," he said calmly, though his eyes were alert. "The fence is fine now." Thank you so much. I don't know what we would have done." Sam gave a small nod, his focus never wavering from the fence. "It's my job to make sure nothing happens. That's all." For the next hour, he stayed outside, monitoring the fence in the yard. Every time the wind rattled the trees or the boards creaked, he would move swiftly to ensure everything remained secure. Lily and Mark, sitting inside with the porch light on, felt their trust in him grow stronger with every passing minute. He wasn't just a handyman, he was someone who genuinely cared about their safety, even if it meant standing in the cold night wind while the storm raged. Finally, the wind began to die down, and the rain eased to a gentle drizzle. Sam checked the fence one last time, running his hands over each board. "It's solid," he said quietly. "You don't have to worry anymore." Lily and Mark stepped outside, wrapping themselves in blankets. "You've done so much for us," Lily said, her voice filled with emotion. "More than we could ever ask for." Sam smiled faintly. "I don't need thanks. I just want to make sure you're safe. That's enough." They walked together to the porch, watching as the rain softened into a drizzle and the wind calmed completely. Night was quiet now, except for the occasional drip of water from the roof. There was a sense of peace in the air, a calm that had been missing for weeks. Mark spoke first, breaking the silence. "Sam, why do you do this? Why do you care so much about people you barely know?" "I've lost people in my life. Accidents, mistakes, things I couldn't prevent. It left a mark on me. I don't want anyone else to go through that if I can help it. Even in small ways, being there matters." Lily's eyes softened. "I understand now. It's not about the fence or even about the night. It's about caring. And being willing to act when others might ignore it." "Exactly. It's simple, really. Just being aware, being present, that's what matters most." The three of them sat quietly for a long while, the storm behind them and the calm of the night surrounding them. There were no more fears, no more tension, just understanding, trust, and the quiet bond that had formed over the past days. As the night deepened, Sam prepared to leave once more, making sure the couple felt completely safe. "You can sleep now," he said. "Everything is secure. And if anything happens, you'll know it's nothing serious." Lily reached out, touching his arm gently. "Sam, I don't think we ever properly thanked you for what you did. Last night, staying out there, watching over us, it meant more than words can say. You don't have to thank me. Seeing you safe is thanks enough." Mark extended his hand firmly, a gesture of respect and gratitude. "You're someone rare, Sam. We'll never forget this." Sam nodded, a quiet humility in his expression. "I hope you never have to worry again. That's all I can wish for. Take care of each other. That's important too." And then he was gone, walking to his truck and driving away, leaving Lily and Mark standing together, the night calm and peaceful around them. The fence stood strong, a symbol of protection and care. But more than that, the evening had left them with something far more lasting. The understanding that kindness, vigilance, and genuine concern for others were rare, precious gifts. As they closed the door behind them and prepared to finally sleep, Lily whispered softly, "I think we've learned a lot. Not just about fences, but about trust, care, and what it means to be truly responsible for others." Mark nodded, pulling her close. "And sometimes it takes someone unexpected to remind you of that." The house was quiet now, peaceful and safe. The storm had passed, the fence was strong, and the lessons of the night lingered in their hearts. They knew that life would continue to bring challenges, but with trust, vigilance, and the rare presence of someone who genuinely cared, they could face whatever came next with a little more courage and understanding. Outside, the stars twinkled softly, and the night held a calm, quiet beauty. Lily and Mark finally felt a deep sense of peace, not just because the fence was safe, but because someone had shown them the meaning of true care and responsibility. And that lesson, they realized, was more valuable than anything else in the world. The morning sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, spilling warmth across the table. Lily stretched her arms and let out a contented sigh. The night had been calm, quiet, and safe. The storm was gone, leaving behind only the soft chirping of birds and the occasional rustle of leaves. She looked out the window at the fence Sam had repaired. It stood strong and steady, the morning light catching the smooth, polished boards. It wasn't just a fence anymore. It was a symbol of security, care, and the unexpected kindness that had entered their lives. Mark was already up, brewing coffee and humming softly as he moved around the kitchen. He had that calm, reflective air that came after a long night of realization and understanding. The previous night's events, the wind, the storm, and Sam's watchful presence had left him thoughtful. He poured 2 mugs of coffee and set them on the table for Lily and himself. "I don't think I've ever slept so peacefully," Mark said quietly, taking a sip. "Even with the storm last night, knowing Sam was out there made all the difference." Lily nodded, smiling softly. "Yes. It's strange, isn't it? A stranger came into our lives in the most unusual way, and yet we've learned so much from him, about care, trust, and being responsible for others." Mark glanced out the window again at the fence. "He's more than just a handyman. He's, a reminder of what it means to really look out for people." The couple sat in silence for a few moments, letting the morning calm settle around them. The experience of the past few days had been unusual, even a little surreal, but it had also been enlightening. They had come to trust Sam, and through his presence they had rediscovered their own sense of security and understanding of each other. Later in the morning they heard the familiar sound of a truck on the gravel driveway. Sam had returned, as he had promised during the past few days, to check once more on the fence and make sure everything was still in perfect condition. Lily and Mark exchanged a look and stepped outside to greet him. "Good morning, Sam," Lily said warmly. "You didn't have to come back." Sam smiled faintly, setting down his small toolbox. "I know. I just like to make sure things stay as they should. The fence, and you too." Mark chuckled lightly. "You've become a bit of a regular around here, haven't you?" Sam shrugged. "I suppose I have. But that's not a bad thing. Seeing you safe, it matters more than I can say." They walked together to the fence, Sam inspecting each post and board carefully. Lily and Mark watched him, noticing the same careful, methodical attention he had shown before. Every nail was checked, every plank tapped lightly to ensure it was secure. It was almost like watching someone perform a silent ritual, one that carried meaning far beyond the physical work itself. "You've done it again," Mark said after a few minutes. "Everything is perfect. It's solid, and it looks amazing." "Good. If it stands the test of time and weather, then my work is done." Lily felt a wave of gratitude and emotion she could hardly put into words. "Sam, I think we owe you more than we can ever repay. You've done so much for us. Not just fixing the fence, but staying with us, caring for us, and reminding us what it means to trust and be responsible for each other." Shit. "You don't owe me anything. You were willing to trust me, and that's enough. That's all that matters." Mark smiled, a quiet warmth in his eyes. "Still, it's hard not to feel grateful. You've reminded us of something important, something we've forgotten over the years. That life isn't just about ourselves, it's about looking out for each other, in the little ways and the big ways." Sam's expression softened. "And if my actions can remind someone of that, then I feel I've done something meaningful. That's more than I could ask for." The three of them spent the rest of the morning together, sharing coffee and small conversation. Sam told a few stories from his past, careful not to go into details he wasn't ready to share. Lily and Mark listened, fascinated by his calm, thoughtful nature and the quiet wisdom that seemed to flow naturally from him. There was no pretense, no showmanship, just honesty, kindness, and the desire to help in any way he could. Eventually, it was time for Sam to leave. He packed his tools into the truck, giving the fence one last inspection. "Everything is as it should be," he said quietly. "It should last a long time." Lily stepped forward, a soft smile on her face. "Sam, I hope you know how much you've meant to us these past few days, more than words can say. We'll never forget what you did." Sam's expression softened, a faint smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "I don't expect you to. Just take care of each other. That's all I ask." Mark extended his hand, firm and sincere. "Thank you, Sam. Truly. You're one of those rare people who reminds you what it means to care for others." Sam shook his hand, a quiet humility in his posture. "I hope I've helped. That's all I can do." He climbed into his truck and started the engine, pausing to look back at the house and the fence one last time. There was a quiet pride in his eyes, not in what he had built with his hands, but in the sense of trust and security he had left behind. Then, with a gentle roar of the engine, he drove away, leaving Lily and Mark standing at the gate. The morning air felt lighter somehow, as if the world itself had shifted slightly in response to the events of the past few days. The fence stood firm, the house felt safe, and their hearts were full of gratitude. They realized that Sam's presence had brought them more than protection. It had brought them perspective, reminding them of the small but meaningful ways one person could impact another's life. Lily turned to Mark quietly. "You know, I think we've been given a gift. Not just the fence, but the understanding that trust, care, and kindness still exist, and sometimes they come from people we never expect." Mark nodded, pulling her close. "Yes. And maybe the lesson is to be that kind of person too, to notice when someone needs help, to act, and to care without expecting anything in return." They stood together, hand in hand, looking at the fence in the house. For the first time in weeks, they felt a deep, abiding peace. Their home was not just a place of shelter, but a place of trust, learning, and shared understanding. The unusual events of the past days, Sam's sudden arrival, his insistence on staying near them, his careful work and quiet vigilance, had left a lasting impression. The rest of the day passed gently, the kind of day that feels full of potential. Lily and Mark went about their routines with a new sense of awareness, noticing small details they had overlooked before, the way the morning sun hit the fence, the rustling of leaves in the trees, the soft sound of birds singing. Everything seemed sharper, brighter, and more alive. By evening, the couple sat together on the porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange, pink, and gold. The fence stood strong in the fading light, a reminder not only of safety, but of human kindness and the rare presence of someone willing to care without expectation. Lily leaned her head on Mark's shoulder. "I feel like the past few days have changed us," she said softly. "We've learned something important about trust and kindness, and I think we're better for it." Mark nodded, wrapping an arm around her. "Yes. And maybe that's the real gift. Not just the fence, but the understanding that even in a world that can feel uncertain, there are people who truly care, and that makes all the difference." As night fell and the stars began to twinkle in the sky, Lily and Mark went inside, hearts full of peace and gratitude. The fence was secure, the home felt safe, and their minds were calm. The lessons of the past days, trust, vigilance, care, and human kindness, would remain with them always, shaping the way they looked at life and the people who entered it. And somewhere down the road, Sam drove away quietly, unaware of the lasting impact he had left behind. His work was done, but the lessons, the trust, and the quiet strength he had shown would continue to ripple through Lily and Mark's lives for a long time to come. They had learned something rare and valuable, that sometimes the smallest acts of care, attention, and protection could change lives in ways no one could predict, and that understanding, kindness, and trust were treasures worth more than anything else in the world. The night was calm, the fence strong, and the house filled with warmth and peace. Lily and Mark finally slept easily, carrying the quiet lessons of the past days in their hearts, grateful for the stranger who had reminded them of what truly matters.